guys, welcome to Odd Man Out, all the news you didn't know you needed to know. As you can tell today, I'm not doing a live stream. I'm going to be doing movie night in just a couple of hours. That is where myself and a couple hundred other guys all pile into a live stream. We watch a couple of movies. It is for supporters only. So if you're not a supporter, please become a supporter today. It's $5 a month, but you get to jump in with a bunch of like-minded guys, a couple of ladies, and those that are brave enough, because it's kind of like a locker room in there with a bunch of guys goofing around and having fun. We share memes. We talk about current events. We imbibe some delicious alcohol, and we watch a couple of movies. So if you'd like to kind of be with a community of like-minded men, make sure to jump over to betterbachelor.locals.com down below. Become a supporter today. You can buy me a beer and come have some fun with us. We do it every Saturday night, and sometimes we do UFC events. We stream live football, all that good stuff. So come check it out. Okay. So whistleblower on Trump elimination attempt raises even more questions. I told you guys I'd be following along with this story. More news is slowly leaking out, and I wait till we can collect a couple of stories, and then we'll talk about it. I'll jump right into the news. This is from yesterday. Multiple Secret Service agents put on leave following the Trump deletion attempt. Secret Service members put on leave nearly 6 weeks after they tried to take out Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. What surprises me is no one's still been fired, even a month. Here we are 6 weeks later. No one's been fired yet for the incompetence that almost lost us a ex or past president and maybe the next president. They say at least 5 members of the U.S. Secret Service have been placed on administrative leave following the July 13th deletion attempt against former President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, Fox News has confirmed. One member of Trump's personal protection team and 4 members of the Secret Service Pittsburgh field office, including the special agent in charge, have been sidelined nearly 6 weeks after the incident. The 5 are still employed but are teleworking and no longer allowed in the field. They cannot do any investigative work. They are, however, that means, still receiving a paycheck. This is the accountability problem we have. If no one's ever held accountable, no one cares if something good, bad, or indifferent happens. You fail up, it seems. Case in point, Kamala Harris. They say the news comes after the Secret Service concluded internal interviews to understanding how Thomas Matthew Crooks was able to fire several shots from the AGR building in Butler. The Secret Service was not able to conduct the interviews right away because the FBI was interviewing them for a separate criminal investigation, according to a source briefed on both probes. Separately, Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican of Missouri, on Friday revealed that a Secret Service whistleblower has come forward to claim that officials at Secret Service headquarters encouraged agents in charge of the rally to not request any extra security assets in their formal planning request. One bullet grazed Trump's right ear, while firefighter Corey Comparatori was fatally struck. Rallygoers James Copenhaver and David Dutch were also injured, also shot and injured. Former Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle resigned less than 2 weeks after the event, after giving her initial testimony about the event before members of Congress. Various lawmakers have called on the Secret Service to make personal changes and fire employees in the wake of the incident. One thing to remember is that Kimberly Cheadle and her replacement, I forget his name currently, both of them said that there were no assets held back and that the Trump detail got all the assets they requested. So obviously with this whistleblower coming forth, he's directly refuting the testimony that was given previously. Fox News has also learned that the threat to Trump from Iran was communicated internally at the Secret Service prior to the Butler, Pennsylvania event, and the investigation is likely looking into why the Butler event went forward given this situation. The Secret Service said in a statement the agency is committed to investigating the decisions and actions of personnel related to the July 13th event. That being said, though, they've already been caught in multiple lies. And if you're going to be caught in multiple lies, how are you committed to investigating things when you're hiding details, such as supposedly Trump got all the detail that they requested and that there was nothing held back, and now a whistleblower comes forward and says differently. They say, quote, the U.S. Secret Service's mission assurance review is progressing, and we're examining the process, the procedures, and the factors that led to this operational failure. Anthony Guglielmi, the USSS Chief of Communications said in a statement. The U.S. Secret Service holds our personnel to the highest professional standards, and any identified and substantiated violations of policy will be investigated by the Office of Professional Responsibility for potential disciplinary action. Given this is a personal matter, we are not in a position to comment further. That sounds like a beautiful press statement that says, well, we're not really doing anything. We're looking into it. I think they're probably going to keep looking into it until things go away. They say the FBI criminal probe and the Internal Secret Service review both remain active. The FBI has previously stated that Crooks assessed the roof of a building by climbing up HVAC equipment and piping. Crooks then traversed multiple rooftops before he found his position on top of a building about 150 yards from where the former president spoke at his rally. Text messages sent by local law enforcement responsible for monitoring the rally flagged Crooks to colleagues as suspicious at least 90 minutes before he opened fire. Despite this, he was still able to hit Trump in the ear and, of course, the crowd. House Oversight Committee Chairman Rep. James Comer, a Republican from Kentucky, welcomed the news that action has been taken on some Secret Service members. He says, quote, there must be accountability at the Secret Service for its historic failures that led to the attempted ending of President Trump, Comer said. Holding negligent employees accountable is the first step. I look forward to the task force finding of its investigation. We must ensure the Secret Service does not fail again. Hawley also welcomed the action taken by the agency, saying it should have happened weeks ago. He said, quote, we still need real answers about the attempt on President Trump's life and accountability for everyone involved. Hawley also revealed on Friday whistleblower claims that the officials at the Secret Service headquarters informally encouraged agents in charge of Butler Rally to not request any extra security assets in their formal planning request, as they would be denied because Trump was a former president and not an incumbent president or vice president. Hawley shared on X a letter he penned to acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rao, asking for an explanation into who made such a call, if he knew about it, which security assets were left out of the manpower request for the event. Hawley writes that the assets included counter-sniper teams and counter-sniper division personnel. He writes that counter-snipers were ultimately approved, but only a day before the event, and that a separate whistleblower claimed previously that CSD personnel would have handcuffed the gunman after he was spotted in the parking lot with a rangefinder. He said, quote, you have repeatedly suggested that no security assets had been denied for the Butler event. You must explain this apparent contradiction immediately, Hawley writes in part. Meanwhile, Attorney General Merrick Garland, speaking at an unrelated event, said Friday he could not comment on any specific suspensions. He says, quote, this was a security failure, and there is both an internal and external independent investigation. They will provide lessons learned to prevent such a failure from happening again. Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican from Iowa, also welcomed news of the agents being put on leave. I always say, if heads don't roll, nothing changes, Grassley tells Fox News. I'm glad the Secret Service has taken a step towards accountability. Now, obviously, a lot of people think this is not enough action, and that when you have too many things happening all at once, such as this guy walking around with a rangefinder, messages going out up to an hour and a half that there's a suspicious individual involved, the okay for President Trump to go ahead and take the stage, even though there's an incident, the fact that there were drones being flown around, or a drone flown around by crooks, but none that are like counter of the counter sniper team for the U.S. Secret Service, no drones that they had. No one checked the building. They lost contact with him. They saw him up on the building. Crowds were yelling well in advance. This is why so many people think that something was planned and that there was a go-ahead given by somebody in the Secret Service. And now on top of that, you have agents that are basically working from home, not out in the field, not doing investigations, but still being given paychecks. This is why so many people are furious. And there's still, here we are 6 weeks later, and there's no answers. Last portion of this I'll cover for today from the Post-Millennial. The 20-year-old Trump shooter had overseas encrypted accounts per a GOP rep. He says, quote, we still haven't learned a lot. We haven't learned that much about those overseas accounts. Thomas Matthew Crooks had multiple encrypted messaging accounts on platforms based overseas, including in Germany, New Zealand, and Belgium, according to Rep. Mike Waltz, a former Green Beret who was appointed to the 13-member task force to investigate the Butler rally. Waltz told reporters that he and others in the task force had learned of the overseas accounts that belonged to Crooks during the investigation into the messages on Crooks' cell phone. They say, "We still haven't learned a lot. We haven't learned that much about those overseas accounts," Waltz said per Fox News. "We do know that they were in, if I get this correctly, Belgium, New Zealand, and Germany." He goes on to say, "Why does a 19-year-old kid who's a healthcare aide need encrypted platforms not even based in the United States, but based abroad where most organizations know it's harder for our law enforcement to get into? That's a question I've had since day one." The GOP representative turned his comments to the FBI as well as the Secret Service, taking aim at the agencies for not disclosing details about their respective investigations into this event until months from the event occurring. They need to be releasing information as they come across it because this wasn't an isolated incident, Waltz said. Waltz then added that there have been continued threats made against Trump, especially with regard to Iran, citing a foiled plot for the ending of Trump by a Pakistani national who had paid hitmen to end the GOP nominee as well as other U.S. officials. On the day of the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, Crook was able to evade USSS security, climb up on top of a roof within 150 yards of Trump, and take several shots at him, ending a person in the crowd in the process and critically injuring two others. Trump was hit in the ear and moved his head at the last second. One thing that I'm curious about is that our own agencies, the FBI, the CIA, our own agencies know what countries those agencies have trouble looking into. In other words, the CIA, the FBI, Secret Service, they know that if there's an account or a cell phone found in New Zealand or whatever examples, Belgium, whatever examples they use, they know that if they have trouble getting the okay from those governments to look into that information, then they would be the first ones to know that if they wanted to communicate with somebody, they would set up the accounts in those countries and then use those accounts to make this happen, knowing that the agencies here in the United States would have trouble looking into it. If you really think about it, if we were going to do something, like somebody was going to be convincing this young man to do something or being in communication with him or finding ways to get him whatever implements and instruments he needs to make this happen, what are the odds that our own agencies would contact him directly? Zero. What are the odds they would communicate to him through companies that we know it's very hard to get information from and therefore would probably stymie the investigation? The three-letter agencies know this stuff. So the more that's coming out about this, the more questions go unanswered, the more we don't know, the more that people are getting suspicious, and more points to it being an inside job or such a complete and utter failure. And since there's never any accountability for anything, we just keep plodding along with no answers. If you want to know what makes people afraid of the government, if you want to know what makes people not trust the system anymore, it's things like this. No one in charge is ever held accountable anymore for any wrongdoings, and they only seem to get promoted. I'll keep you guys posted on this as I find out more. I will certainly let you know. And don't forget, become a member today. You can become a subscriber. You don't want to just give once. Become a subscriber monthly. It's $5 a month. But that way you become an official member. You can sign up. You can join us for a couple movie nights. See what the community is about. Because if you watch my live streams on Rumble, there's no one's talking before the start of my stream. Where over on Locals, where there's half as many people watching, you've got guys sharing memes and talking and joking around. It's a community of friends. And that's really the whole reason that I set up that community, is so guys could find like-minded guys. You could find some friends. You could find some people to hang out with and talk about current events and share some stories and your life. And it very much becomes like a bunch of guys sitting around at the bar or pub sharing stories while watching a football game. That's what this community is about. So please check it out today. Again, become a subscriber. It's $5 a month or $50 for a year. You support a good cause, me, and you can join a bunch of other guys having fun. I'll leave it there. We'll see you in the next one.